Hello, everyone. My name is Lane Perry, and this is a collaboration for the situational analysis on the ABC Brewery Company, also known as Atomized Brewing Company, and it is in conjunction with Austin Parker. Together, we are going to do the situational analysis where I will be focusing on the first two tools, the SWOT analysis and the PEST analysis, and then the next two components, based on Porter's 5 and Porter's value chain model, will be addressed by Austin Parker. So, to begin, the ABC Brewery Company specializes in matching local non-franchised restaurants and eateries with specialized eatery-specific brews by the bottle or keg. We will partner with local eateries such as Church Street Burgers, Smoky Mountain Subs, Bourbon Barrel Frog Leap. There are a number of these in the region here in Western North Carolina. And we will work to develop a specific recipe for each specialized brew that we will contract for delivery for that specialty brew or keg to each of these individual partners. There's sort of two levels of buy-in at this point. One is the full partner, the other one is the part partner. That will generate either 3 kegs per month or 1 keg per month. So we started diving into our SWOT analysis here, which stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And you can clearly see that our strengths and opportunities are considered positive factors, while the negative factors are the weaknesses or those threats. Your strengths and your weaknesses are things that are internal to your organization, and then opportunities and threats are those that are external to the organization's core. So a few examples here of strengths that are internal to our organization at the moment is that we have qualified, experienced brewers. It is an expensive way to offer your own specialty beer. So Church Street Burgers isn't going to go into becoming a brewery, most likely, but they can reap the benefits of having a brewery-like value add to the experience within their organization or their restaurant, which in this case would be their specialty beer, the Church Street Burgers Pilsner, or the Church Street IPA, whatever they would want. We would craft it on their behalf. Moving through here, we have verbal partnerships with 3 local eateries who are interested in this proposed business model. Now, looking at some internal weaknesses we have limited funding at the moment, so we're looking for some investors who might see the value in this project that, of course, we see. Establishing a positive reputation on the internet will be challenging because we have limited tech-savvy acumen in-house currently. Now, if we move to things outside of our internal control, we have some major opportunities here in the region, and I'm sure many of us, even if you aren't an avid beer drinker, are very aware of these. Major microbrew culture, this is the echo effect happening from Beer City, USA in Asheville, massive growth in the western region of North Carolina, and numerous brewery partners who can assist with the technical assistance in brewing, scalability, canning, kegging, distribution, etc. Now, threats exist regarding the decline in tourism, which is contingent on economic conditions. And then also there's been a lot of political noise around this in the past, from the moving to 25,000 to 100,000 barrels to being able to sell off premises versus on premises. So there's a lot of moving here, and with shifts in political ideology, that too can demonstrate a threat for our business model. Now, moving on to the pest, as I'm being sensitive to everyone's time and have to share this slot with Austin. The pest analysis focuses on 4 primary areas, and that's the political, the economic, social, and technological. So politically, it is ripe. It is a ripe season for this sort of work. In November 2016, Haywood County residents gave their approval for beer and wine sales both on and off premises. You can see that right here. And then North Carolina law requires brewers and breweries to allocate 100% of their rights to distribution to a third party once production surpasses 25,000 barrels. Luckily, at this point, the model that we have towards scalability wouldn't cross the 25,000 barrel threshold in order to have to give our rights to a third party distributor. So that's sort of a feather in our hat right now. But there is HB 67, which is currently on the House floor, that is looking to go ahead and shift that 25,000 to 100,000 barrel focus towards self-distribution to be at that 100,000 barrel mark, which puts us into almost a mid-range microbrewery, not this sort of atomized small-scale stuff we're talking about. Shifting gears into the economic space, from 2011 to 2015, the volume share for craft brewers of the overall brewing market increased from nearly 6% to 12%, meaning it doubled in that percent of time. There are a number of craft breweries. North Carolina alone has 130 craft breweries, mostly in the South, the most in the South, with 45 new breweries set to open after 2015, when this research was done in 2014. There are three major craft breweries chose Western North Carolina as sites for their major expansions over the past 4 years, and there are four craft breweries in Waynesville alone. And you might look at that as something that could be considered competition, but that's not how the brewing industry works. There is a lot of competition inherently whenever there are people offering similar products, but it is such a family type feel. I've done interviews with three of those breweries here in the region, and every one of them say the same thing. They went to Wicked Weed, they went to Asheville Brewing, they went to the more established breweries when they were opening, and there was a ton of support there. So that sort of shifts gears here into the social of our pest analysis. You can see here on the left side that the North Carolina craft beer industry reflects the rich agricultural heritage and history by brewing with local ingredients, which is essentially supported by the North Carolina State Fair's North Carolina Brewers Cup competition. Research has found that millennials born between 1980 and 2000 are a primary demographic associated with craft beer purchasing and appreciation, and they value experiences over physical product. And the craft brewing industry generates experiences. So like going and having a locally sourced hamburger from Hickory Nut Gap Farm that's being sold to you from Church Street Burgers, all local every point of the way. And then you're getting a beer. The most local beer you could get would be Church Street specialized craft brew from Atomized Brewing Company. So it's sort of adding to that experience, and it's adding to that going local and helping individuals be locavores. So small craft breweries here create and produce a product and an atmosphere that customers enjoy. And then since 2001, huge increases in the millennial population and female 21 to 34-year-old drinkers increase from lower SESs and increase in craft drinking from minority backgrounds. There's a huge social phenomenon around this. And so we see that the market is there. And then finally, technology, innovation, and supply chain model, which Austin will be addressing more clearly here in a little bit. And then the brewing process is relatively straightforward and traditional, so technologically speaking, there's not a lot of innovation there. But where the innovation does come in is into the supply chain modeling, the monitoring of when kegs are nearly tapped at your local partners and being able to replace those as quickly as possible. And then essentially leveraging technological innovation to extend the atomized brewing concept to even smaller scale productions for individual consumers. Imagine that you're getting married and you want a special brew for your wedding and you need 3 kegs. Or if you're doing you want your specialty fraternity, like the Tau Kappa Epsilon brew, right? Like who's brewing those fraternities their specialized beer? And I know that that's into some tenuous waters there with certain social implications, but there's some space for technological innovation when it comes to the brewing industry, and we're sort of trying to tap into that within the ABC brewing model. And so that sort of demonstrates a few of the main components there. Here's some citations so you can see where some of these results, some of the data has come from the pest analysis and from the SWOT analysis. But that is the SWOT and the pest, and Austin will be getting to the Porter tools shortly.
This is Austin Parker, and I'm going to go over Porter's 5 forces analysis and the value chain. Thank you so much to Lane for what he's already told us so far. So we're going to keep on going. So right now we're going to look through Porter's 5 forces, and what Porter's 5 forces is, in a nutshell, is 5 different forces that control the level of intensity of competition in an industry. So we have competitive rivalry, we have barriers to entry, there is threat of substitute products, there is buyer power, and likewise there's also supplier power. So let's just start at the top with competitive rivalry. The competition in the microbrewing industry is prevalent. There's several larger companies and a plethora of small companies. But we still think we'll be able to operate in an environment that bolsters and encourages microbreweries. Asheville, North Carolina, again, Beer City, USA, it's encouraged. We think we can pull it off. As a result, we believe that there is still untapped market potential for the unique focus of creating specialized brews for the local restaurants. We're going to direct our efforts to small restaurants who currently offer national beer brands, and we believe that we can tap into a competitive advantage by securing contracts for future with these restaurants. So instead of carrying just national branded beers, they can have their own unique brew. These contracts are going to create a temporary kind of a barrier to entry, and that's going to limit the threat of new entrants into the market share that we have. Okay, next up we have barriers to entry. So the barriers to entry in the microbrewing space are several. Of course, you have finance. Financially, the barriers depend greatly upon the level of desired product output. So how big do we want to be? Since our brewery is going to start very small, we think we can cross this barrier using capital obtained through debt. That's going to be our main financing way, is through debt. The second barrier to entry involves brand awareness and loyalty. Since most people already have several favorite brews by our competition, it'll be important to maximize our outreach to businesses in order to convince them that we can create a unique beverage that will become a new favorite, keyword new favorite, to patrons. A third barrier to entry will be the fact that our competition will have a cost advantage until we can scale our operations. They're going to have economies of scale. We won't. So this is definitely going to put some pressure on our profit margins, and that in turn will force us to narrow down our selection of restaurants to only those who can pay us enough, only those who serve a customer that's willing to pay a higher dollar for a more expensive drink. All right, next up we have the threat of substitute products. There is, of course, a rather large threat of substitute products in this industry. From national brands, you have Budweiser, Miller, etc., to other local breweries. There's definitely no problem choosing from an abundance of different drinks from the consumer's perspective. But this fact will further propel our strategy of tapping into restaurants that want to increase the frequency that customers return while positioning themselves with unique offerings. So if it is an exclusive brew that you can only get at one restaurant, we are increasing the chance that that customer is going to come back, because that's the only place they can go if they want to get that drink again. Next up, of course, we have buyer power. So the buyer has a lot of control in a way. They are still typically willing to pay more, though, for microbrews than national brands. So they expect it. They know it's local. They know it's going to cost more, but it needs to be a much better quality, of course, and a unique taste. But since much of our competition will be breweries similar to our size, the pricing of our products relative to theirs is similar. Of course, again, they have that advantage of scale, but we won't be too far behind necessarily. Let's see, and next, finally moving on to supplier power. So the power that suppliers have to control our prices is low in this industry due to a variety of different suppliers. There's a high number of suppliers, and that's going to create a healthy competition mix, which will limit the power that they have over our price. So next, moving on, we're going to go to the value chain analysis. So what the value chain analysis is it breaks down everything you do into primary activities and support activities. So down here on the bottom, you can see there are primary activities, and all of these support activities excuse me, all of these support activities will support the primary activities. And the key with this value chain analysis is if one of these support activities does not actually support one of the primary activities, you shouldn't have it. So this is a great way to narrowing down and making your value chain efficient, figuring out what are we doing that we don't need, what are we wasting money at. Maybe there's an area of our business that we can eliminate and the customer wouldn't care. So with this in mind, we're going to go ahead and start right from the top. We have inbound logistics. Of course, being a brewery with a product, we have inbound logistics. For us, this activity includes all actions taken to receive the materials necessary to create our products, from raw ingredients to bottles, cans, kegs, to dispensing hardware. The process begins at this stage. Emphasis will be placed on receiving only what is needed to fulfill the immediate production in order to reduce inventory costs that can be a new burden to new businesses with limited funding like ours. After the company has become better established in the market, however, the level of desired inventory will be raised as a way of preparing for larger order quantities from our customers. Next up in the workflow, you have operations. So first it comes into inbound logistics, then it goes into operations where we actually make the beer. Once the materials arrive into the facility, the stage of operations will turn them into the final product. Raw ingredients will give way to finished beer that is bottled and ready to ship to its final destination for consumption. Next in, you have outbound logistics, so we're going to ship the product. The assurance that product leaves the manufacturing facility and warehouse on time is of great importance to the company and its clients. In order to successfully complete this stage of the process, we are going to pay special attention to being quick and responsive during our shipping and delivering of the product to its destination. We're going to have a company van that will initially be tasked with this goal, since our primary target is the local area. So there's no need to, have a shipping company with large trucks or anything like that. It's going to be the Asheville area, and we can deliver that on our own. That is going to actually work out well because it's very fast and it's very efficient. You can just, use maybe a Sprinter van to deliver to a local restaurant. Next, we have marketing and sales. So we just sent off the product. Now we got to make sure we can sell it. Marketing your products effectively, it's critical to the company. This stage of the value chain will reflect the methods and strategies we use to sell our products to local area restaurants. By focusing on restaurants rather than retailers, we hope to tap into an underserved market and capitalize on the opportunities that lie within it. So again, we're not just selling this in some retail establishment. This is going to be a unique brew to a unique restaurant to a unique customer. And then next up we have service. So the customer client service will be at the forefront of every action we take as a company. If the restaurant is running low on a particular brew of ours, an immediate dispatch for a delivery van will ensure that it's there, and it's there quickly, and that will eliminate outages, which will make customers happy at that restaurant. It's going to result in a dependable experience, which is definitely what our restaurant owners and operators are going to want, and it's going to give them a peace of mind that we're always there no matter what they need. All right, and then we're going to go to support activities. So all of these activities support the activities that we just went over. So there's procurement. The activity of procurement directly supports inbound logistics, and it's the bedrock of our product's existence. Without procurement, if you don't get your ingredients, you can't really have beer. We're going to source local ingredients from local suppliers as much as possible, and that's going to create a more customized end product. And the local aspect of that is there, which is huge in this area. Since we will have greater knowledge of exactly where our ingredients are coming from, we'll be able to be more upfront and honest with our clients about where the product originates. So it'll be stamped somewhere on the product or in a marketing material exactly where each ingredient is coming from. And that all goes down to the experience of the customer. If they know where their beer is coming from, there can be a greater loyalty to that brand. All right, so moving on, we got technology. Everybody uses technology, and we're no different. Using it as a support activity for all of our primary activities in our value chain is important to the company's success. This is because we can coordinate with suppliers and deliveries, monitoring the quality of our manufacturing process, and delivering the product in a timely manner, and also providing excellent customer service. Additionally, the use of technology will boost productivity and efficiency, which will raise our profit margins, which is needed since we will have little economies of scale at the start of operations. And then moving on now, we got human resources management. Since our company does pride itself in the relationships we have with our clients and on the quality of our products, recruiting and maintaining top talent is, of course, really, really, really important. As the company grows, we're going to need more people, and we're going to need human resources management to also increase to that new influx of employees. So at that point, we might outsource this part of the operations to an external human resources agency. At first, it's just going to be us. It's going to be the managers of the company trying to figure out who is good, who is not, and what they need. But as we grow, we're going to have to take that off of our plate. We're going to have to probably outsource it. And that's going to free us up, and we're going to have more time to focus on the product and the clients. And we're not going to have to focus on human resources. Okay, next we have firm infrastructure. So although the company is new, starting a successful brewery has several different moving parts. And as a result, not every support activity will initially fit under the canopy created above. So this is kind of a miscellaneous category. We're going to be very careful with what we put in here, again, because the whole point of the value chain is to not put in what you don't need. So we're going to keep this very thin, and that will optimize the company for efficiency. And it's going to help keep our attention on what is most important, and that's the growth and profitability of our business through delighting our customers and creating an excellent, unique product. So thank you so much for listening to our little presentation here. Special thanks to Lane Perry for his help on this as well. And please go ahead and comment wherever this is. I'm going to post a text document, a PDF of this as well. So if you'd like to read through it where it's not on the screen, feel free to do that as well. And I thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you later, okay? Bye-bye.